Well, thank you for joining us tonight. This is the South Dakota, the SDPRLCA Primary Legislative Candidate Survey. So thank you for participating. As a nonpartisan grassroots organization, SDPRLCA is dedicated to protecting private property rights and maintaining local authority. Following the 2024 general election, where 65 of 66 South Dakota counties voted no on Referred Law 21, voters are eager to hear where the 2027 legislative class stands on these core issues. So we'll do some ground rules for this evening. First, you'll have an introduction, which will be a minute and a half. There'll be 5 targeted questions with 2 minutes allowed per response, and then a closing statement of 2 minutes. Upon completion of the video survey, you'll be able to log off. All 5 questions will focus specifically on property rights and local control, and you've been given those questions ahead of time. For the public record, our recordings will be posted in their entirety on our Facebook page, YouTube channel, and website. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Mark Nelson. He's running for Senate from District 24. Please tell us about your background, your connection, your district, and most importantly, what specific conviction or event led you to step forward and run for South Dakota Legislature in 2026. You have a minute and a half.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is Mark Nelson. I'm one of the 3 candidates for District 24 Senate. I am a constitutional conservative Christian, and I like to say that I'm one of the last professing Goldwater conservatives in the state. There's a lot of us out there, but not very many claim to be. That's my basic political philosophy, is Barry Goldwater's philosophy. I'm a 4th-generation rancher. I live in the same house my great uncle built in 1912, and I'm the holder of the land patent that was signed for him by Teddy Roosevelt in 1905. So my lifetime has been spent right here on this ranch. I graduated from Phillip High School in 1974, and I joined the Air Force in 1978, spent 4 years as an aircraft inspector at Reese Air Force Base in Lubbock, Texas. And when I came home, the ranch was in debt. Of course, it was the 80s. And so I climbed in a truck. And the reason I bring that up is I've never been afraid to do what needs to be done to make things happen, to get results. And I decided to run after SB 201 because the main reason was when I talked to my legislators and I said, has anyone ever challenged SB 201, the constitutionality of it with the federal government? And they all said no. We'd lose funding if we did. So that's my basic story.
All right. Well, thank you. We're going to start and go right into our five specific questions, and you'll have 2 minutes for each response. The first question is district specific. What do you identify as the primary property rights issue in your district, and what is your single most serious concern regarding it? That is resource depletion, loss of local control, or unintended consequences.
I believe the unintended consequences are always the primary problem. They're caused by the other things, but they are normally, nobody plans to start a business and deplete natural resources or cause problems with their neighbors or anything. It's the consequences that people don't think about that causes the problem. And I say God gave Adam dominion over the land and the creatures on it, but he didn't just hand us that land. He told us to be stewards of that land and to care for it. And that means sometimes not doing what might be in our best interest or the most comfortable, but doing what is right for the land. I firmly, I'm a fourth generation rancher. I make my living off of grass, and I believe that stewardship of the land. We we currently have some wind farms coming in and a fertilizer plant coming into my county here in Hawken County, and uh, I think these things are being hurried in because the feds want it without understanding the consequences to the neighbors and the neighboring areas, and the depletion of water resources, and just the tying up of productive land.
All right, let's move to question 2. Action plan. What specific legislative action or policy change would you champion to address this issue?
Well, I supported SB, not didn't support SB 201. I supported RL 21 and worked hard to get that passed or defeated. And I I supported John Carley's SB 49 in 2025 and thought that was a good bill. Of course, I supported HB 1052, which eliminated carbon. I would have preferred the Carley bill because it would have eliminated using eminent domain for private properties, private companies for wind and solar also, but we didn't get that through. I also supported Mark Lapka's HJR 5001 this year in the legislature. I would have liked to have seen it gone to the people. Even if it was defeated, it would have at least kept property rights out in front of the people through the election season. I was a little disappointed on that. I don't believe that any private entity should have the government shouldn't take precedence with any private entity over another private entity. That just isn't right. I can't go and take my neighbor's land just because I might be able to utilize it better. And I don't believe any private corporation should be able to come in and take mine because they might be able to make the government more money on it.
All right, question number 3. Core components. Property rights involve the right to possess, control, exclude, enjoy, and dispose. How is the right to enjoy at risk from state mandates in your district, and how will you protect it?
Well, I believe federal and state also, the overreach in our governments is rampant. We have usurped so much power from our local governments, from our county and city governments, uh, in the name of taking care of the collective. And I believe that our Constitution, we have gone beyond the constitutional authority at both the federal and state level. And as such, my hope would be, I know I can't change everything overnight, but my hope would be to at least get us back to operating within the Constitution rather than on the edges of the Constitution. I believe that local governments, county governments need to start taking responsibility for their own actions and not looking to the state. And our state also needs to take responsibility for its actions and not be relying on the federal government to take care of it.
All right, question number 4. Eminent domain. Under what specific circumstances, if any, do you believe eminent domain should be used for projects owned by private corporations?
I do not believe eminent domain should be allowed to be used by private corporations, private for-profit corporations. The exception I would make would be public utility cooperatives, such as electricity, such as water, fire districts, that type of thing. If those entities that directly serve the people whose land they would be taking part of, if they need to use eminent domain, but even in that case, I would limit it to only maybe 5 or at most 10% of the total acreage utilized by the entire project. They should have to have at least 90 to 95% of their project voluntarily entered into before they are even allowed to consider using eminent domain on the remainder.
All right. Question number 5, local control. Describe a scenario in which local control is not enough protection.
There are times when local government, uh, people being people, local government has a tendency to play favorites and they take control. I believe that local control should be utilized as much as possible, but we have to get the people involved in it. And that, especially at the school level, I do not like federal and state mandates on curriculums and such in our local schools. I believe that's federal, that's state overreach.
Look up,
I would like to see the
look
the
up
local governments
what time this was supposed to start.
accept more responsibility for this.
Okay, I just want to remind everyone to just double check and make sure that all of your microphones are on mute. And then, Mark, if you still have more to say on that one, you've got another minute and 4 left on that response.
Okay. Uh, my biggest frustration is it seems like every government entity wants to look to the next government entity above it to solve their problems. And I believe that it has to start at the state level. The state has to start being willing to stand up to the federal government and say, this is our job. We'll take care of our own project. The counties need to stand up to the state and say, no, this is our business. We'll take care of our own business. And the same with the cities, the school districts. I would like to see school district curriculum be left to the local school board and not a state mandated. The state could possibly put in some minimum standards, but I believe our youth is where we have to start taking our country back and get away from the idea of collectivism.
All right. We are at the closing. So we have a 2-minute response for this. As we head toward the June 2nd primary, it's vital that voters know how to reach their potential representatives. For our final 2 minutes, please let the folks in District 24 know how they can contact you directly. Where can they pick up a sign to show their support, or how can they join your team as a volunteer, or how to give donations, or just help in any way?
Well,
Cindy, don't forget to cue his thing.
my campaign is I'm not running a high dollar, high tech campaign. I have a Facebook page that I post on fairly regular. And I decided when I started my campaign that I would not accept any donations from outside of District 24. So donating to my campaign is, if you're in District 24, I would rather you just talk to your neighbors and discuss me rather than donating. I don't believe that elections should be bought. I believe they should be earned. And my email is there on the screen. If anybody wants to message me on Facebook or send me an email, I will do my best to answer back and answer any questions. As far as donations, I'd rather just have your vote and a good word to your neighbor for me. One other thing, Gail, I'd just like to say, everybody get out and vote on the 2nd of June.
Amen.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.